Here is my student ID, and here's my audience. And actually get to see their natural habitats ever. They're taken at a very small, young age as babies and um, confined to these cages where it's not natural for them. So a lot of them end up living in replicated versions of where they should truly be all of their lives. Contribute to many species of animals being caught and held in captivity throughout the world. Monkeys, bears, lions, even sea animals such as whales and dolphins are taken from their homes just to entertain us. They have served as objects for many years. According to animal rights activists and animal behavior experts, lifespans are shortened by this abrupt change in their living conditions. These animals need much more than they're given in these environments. They are caught and confined in these cages or enclosures to live in, which can lead to many physical and behavioral issues. Elephants, for example, they can wander up to 30 miles per day. This is definitely something that a zoo cannot provide for them, so it ends up leading them into premature death, medical issues such as arthritis and other foot problems. Many zoos have actually opted not to have them as exhibits anymore. So that's something that we have changed in recent years. What you see in the zoos are just completely unnatural, says Mark Beckoff at the University of Colorado. These animals become too behaviorally confined in these zoos to be completely satisfied. It is important to let them be what they would normally be out in the wild. The animal behavior group research at the University of Oxford found that naturally wide-ranging species show the most evidence of stress and psychological issues in captivity. Years, animals being killed and hunted for no particular reason, especially now with easy access to social media. Why does it seem that these animals are still being hunted and captured throughout the world and nobody blinks an eye? We cringe over seeing animals that could possibly be pets, like a cat or a dog, but when it's a wild or exotic animal, to get it confined so that we can take pictures and show them off. These animals are taken from their families and other social thrive and survive. Many animals get smuggled into areas for solely monetary purposes. Us humans have wiped out entire species just in the last 100 years. Yet we continue to capture and hold these animals hostage in these environments where they do not belong. Land animals are victims, but this doesn't just, they're not the only ones. Basically, marine life numbers have depleted as well. Restricted to these tanks and little pools that they're not used to. They're used to the wild and vast oceans, which leads them to die off a lot more quicker than they would in their natural habitat. We have all heard of zoos attacking or killing their trainers or the visitors there. These animals are not acting out of character. How can anyone expect anything different from a wild animal? Circus animals are kept in cages, starved, beaten, and abused until they comply, poked and prodded by sharp tools just to get them to conform. Another example would be Tilikum, the orca at SeaWorld, who attacked its trainer. He was taken back in the 80s from the wild as a teenager. Many whales stick with their families and their pods all of their lives. They hunt in a group, so they know how to communicate, and they basically live together all throughout their lives. These animals are very smart. They're top predators and very smart hunters. So they thrive with being with their group or with their family. Um, with Tilikum, he was taken at a very young age, so that trainer that worked with him for quite a few years. She died while being drugged down to the bottom of his pool. This enormous predator eventually died himself due to a bacterial infection. Another example was a boy at the Cincinnati Zoo just a few years ago. They ended up shooting the animal, um, and the little boy fell about 20 feet into the enclosure. How did this even happen? Harambe didn't attack the boy, but the staff couldn't take the chance and they ended up killing him. He was only 17 years old. It seems as though many animals have died through these kinds of occurrences and mishaps. What can be done differently? Aquariums and zoos and circuses are on a rapid decline as more is being done to bring the awareness to the captivity and the isolation of these animals. Many zoos have decided to change their habitats from cages and bars to more naturalistic enclosures for these animals, making it better for them, but still not ideal. Aquariums began building deeper and larger pools for the marine animals, but it still couldn't compare to the vast ocean homes. These animals end up catching some sort of sickness or disease and die off much sooner than they would naturally. Marine animals can communicate with each other for miles and miles. By taking them out of their homes completely, they become isolated and depressed. One of the biggest circuses of all time, as we all know, is Ringling, Barnum, and Bailey, which closed their doors just a few years ago. More was being brought to light as far as the abuse and the neglect of their animals, so leading to not as many visitors, and eventually they closed down. So a lot has been done within recent years. Although these changes have been made, much more can be done to save these wild animals. They should be roaming free in their natural homes with their families, where they are able to communicate and live where they are biologically made to. We owe a huge round of applause to animal activist groups like PETA and other humane establishments. They bring awareness to the public. To light is what has made the changes we have now.